No, I'm not going to build another Han Solo gun today, but cool things all the way around. One, we got this movie coming out in a couple days. We've also got another huge announcement today. Star Wars Celebration for next year will not be in Orlando. It will not be in Anaheim. It will not be over in Europe. It will be in my backyard in Chicago in April from the 11th through the 15th. And you better believe I'm going to be there. And I'm going to bring a whole lot of cool stuff with me. Costumes, things I made, get to see people. Love it. But this isn't why we're here. That's not why we're here. I wanted to give you guys a first look at the newest printer that I have in the shop that I got. And I've had it for 2 weeks now, so I'm going to give you some initial thoughts, give you a look at it, give you a look at some of the prints it's done. And I got to tell you, it's cheap. It's only $500, and the details and the potential of this machine are phenomenal. So let's get a look at it. Come on back, we'll do it. So I'm going to give you a look at the Anycubic Photon resin printer that I picked up on Amazon for $500. And I got to tell you, there is a lot of good things to be said about this machine. I'm going to reserve all my thoughts on it until a later date when I've had a little more time to work it through, put it through its paces, and do all the kind of things that I needed to do for me. But I wanted to give you an initial look and initial thoughts on it, and just give you a kind of a look at what to expect from this printer. So I do all kinds of prop work. I make replica props, I make movie guns, I make costumes, I do all kinds of things. And one of the things that I hate absolutely more than anything, although it is one of the biggest parts of making those types of things, is sanding. Sanding sucks. Yes, there are some that'll say it's therapeutic, and yes, that it's part of the process, and yes, it's true, it is part of the process, but it is not one of my favorite parts of the process. Now, FDM printers are really awesome for a lot of things. They allow you to make things that you may not have been able to do before. But there are a lot of limitations with FDM printers, and when it comes down to printing detailed pieces and detailed parts, there's only so much that they can really do. Your average FDM printer will put out a resolution and allow you to do layer heights of about 100 microns or 0.1 millimeters high. And most FDM printers can't reliably print at that layer height. Generally speaking, most people, when they're printing with their machines, are printing at a 200 micron layer height, so 0.2 millimeters. It is what it is. They are what they are. They can give you some good results, but there is a trade-off. When you want to do detailed parts, you need to do finer detailed things. FDM can get you half the way there, and in some cases not all the way there, but you have to sand a lot. Now, most of this DL484, this is my son's one that I made for him for Christmas, but the thing of it is when you start to get in close on it, and I spent a fair amount of time prepping the scope on here, and the scope mount, and these buttons, and you know, the knobs on there and all that stuff, but you can only get so good so far. And parts like the radiator cooling fin on here are a freaking nightmare. First of all, to get it to print, you can get it to print in pretty much any orientation, but the trade-off is that you need a lot of supports to print this particular part. And when you print those supports, you have to get the damn things back out of there again. So when I first saw some of the videos coming out on either SLA printers or DLP printers, now the difference, to back up for 1 second, an SLA printer is a laser. It prints with a laser and resin. A DLP or a projector type resin printer prints with a screen at the bottom and a vat of resin, and the screen below it is essentially the same as the phone screen that you may be watching this on, or the phone that I'm shooting this video with. The screen is about that size, and that screen projects an image along with a UV light source underneath it onto that phone screen, and there's a vat of resin sitting on top of that with a clear bottom on it. And as that image is projected up through the bottom of the vat, then the liquid resin that is in there, which is UV reactive, cures in layers. So it projects a picture, cures that layer, shuts the light source off, puts another picture up for the next layer, does the same thing and repeats that. Now the resolution that I can get with the photon goes down to 25 microns. 25 microns is 8 times the resolution in the z-axis that you have and that you commonly will print on an FDM machine. You're not excited by that yet? What the hell's wrong with you? So what that means is that you can not only print finer details, you can print items that are much, much smaller. Printing a little figure like this on an FDM machine would be terrible. It would be a rough go. And at the end of it, you would not get the same amount of detail that you're getting on this. If this doesn't really impress somebody when they see this model here, I really don't know what will. The detail on this Einstein model is really, truly, unbelievably crazy. You can pick out the fine lines on the face. You can see crow's feet around the eyes. And this is at a 50 micron layer height. I could do twice the resolution on that, and these details would be even sharper and better. So why this printer for me? Well, for me, for the things that I do, and in printing these detailed parts for some of these projects, like these blaster builds that I do and things, when I can print a part like this, take it off the printer, and go right to paint with it without even touching it with a piece of sandpaper, I'm sold right there. That does things that I need it to do. So I could show you all kinds of models and parts that I've done, you know, show you all kinds of really fine, detailed things. Like this is a part of a Darth Vader belt box, and this is a printed part that is not only highly detailed, but look at this. I can even take and use a piece of hardware with it. This is a 1/4 20 thread on here, 1/4 20 nut. Did I sand this thing? No, I didn't touch it, with the exception of cutting it off of the supports that it was printed on. That's it. Now the potential of this particular machine and other machines like this is really huge. If you do things like tabletop gaming, if you do things like I do, if you like to do 3D modeling on your own and come up with your own designs, there's so much that you can do if you into jewelry making, lots of different avenues where this would be a really great tool for you. For me, I'm kind of scratching the surface so far and just using it in some of the builds that I'm doing for people. And you know, when stuff comes off like this from the printer ready to go, that's phenomenal. So the printer is in an enclosure, and we'll talk briefly about that. There are a lot of types of resins out there, okay? Some more so than others, have a very strong smell. And some people may be sensitive to it, some people may not be, and in some cases some of these resins aren't particularly good for you. And if they aren't particularly good for you to touch, and they smell, it's probably not something that you want to be around in direct contact with forever, or for extended periods of time, or want other people in your household exposed to. So, what I did is I have this case that used to house my monoprice printer where I would print ABS on. I really don't print ABS on now with PETG now. So I took this guy out, I put this in here because the resin does smell. Some of them really don't have much of a smell. Some smell really bad. And people have reported getting, headaches and just not liking the smell of it. So instead of taking chances or worrying about it or having anybody in the house say, hey, the thing stinks, I did something about it. So I put it inside the enclosure, I threw a nice big fan on the top of it, and it's venting right out to the outdoors. Problem solved when it comes to that. So in a future video, I'm going to give a look at that so you can see how to do it. People have been doing this a number of different ways, even dropping in online on some of the websites where you go and buy the materials to grow your own happy plants in your house. Where they have inline blowers and charcoal filters and all kinds of stuff to remove odor, odor of things that you don't want others to smell, like your neighbors, the police. So there's a million different ways to do this, but this was mine. So I have a print running in the cabinet right now. Just to give you a look at the printer running. The printer as it runs is very quiet. Most of the noise that you hear right now is either my CR10 running behind me or the blower fan, which is up in the top here, which sucks a lot of air. So when it runs, it's quiet. It is very small. Okay, the print area of this thing is 68 by 120 X and Y and 150 high. So the build volume of this is not gigantic. You're not going to print, an entire blaster in 2 pieces on here. You're not going to print a helmet on this thing, but you can print the detailed parts of things that you're making, or very small things that you're making, with amazing detail and amazing resolution on them. That's what this thing does really well. So right now I have a print running on there, and I've been experimenting with a different resin that I just got. So my settings are kind of screwy, and this print really isn't going the way that it should be. So what I'm going to do quick is just kill this print and show you very quickly what's done when you finish up a print, and how you post-process it really briefly. Alright, so one of the first things people notice about the printer, about the Photon or about other printers of this type, is the fact that it prints upside down. Your models print upside down. Your vat of resin is down here, your screen is immediately below this vat, and your light source is down below that, your LED light source. So as you print, you get a picture, here's your resin, you move up. Repeat, moves up, moves up, moves up until you're done. Now, one thing about these that I kind of want to dispel too is the notion that resin printers are extremely messy. Now, they really aren't. I've gotten to the point now where you should wear gloves while you're working with one of these, just because you don't want to get this resin on your hands. But I've been messing around with it for 2 weeks now, and through being careful and just paying attention, quite honestly, and keeping that stuff separate from other things, the mess is honestly minimal. So here is what the actual build plate looks like, and as you can see, it is not giant. Alright, we have a couple parts on here printed. These are a couple rocker switches for Darth Vader chest box that I'm also working on, And my settings weren't perfect, so I lost some of the support here, which led to issues with the model. Not the fault of the printer, it's the fault of the user. Combination of the user and potentially the material that's in there. Really, the area of the biggest learning curve if you're coming from FDM to a printer like this is getting used to, you know, there's certainly less moving parts. There's less to worry about. Once you level this guy and get this, you know, this build plate set and in the right position, it stays that way. Unless you're, you know, when you're removing a part from the build plate, you're really torquing on things and you mess things up. It'll stay for a long time, so it's not something you have to re-level all the time and mess around with. The resin, you shake it up, you pour it in the vat, you put it in your memory stick, you hit print, select your file, hit go, and it does it. And one of the really cool things about a DLP resin versus a laser type or an SLA is the fact that you can fill up this entire build plate. And this entire build plate, if you fill up every square centimeter of this thing, it's going to take you just as long to print an item or multiple items on a build plate as it does to print one. Because we're printing with a screen, we're printing with an image. We're not printing with a laser that has to actually go and touch this resin and move around to get to all that. It's an image. So it doesn't matter if it's an image of one item or if it's an image of 12 on there. It's going to print just as fast. So for printing little things like this, I can fill up the entire plate with these, and I can print 12 at a time. And it takes an hour and 25 minutes. Or I can print one and it takes me an hour and 25 minutes. So that's a really, really cool thing about how these work. And one of the reasons why I like it, because it doesn't matter if I do one or if I do 10 or if I want to put 3 different models on here at the same time. It's not going to affect the print time. So, very simply, when you have something that's completed, you need a way to post-process. And post-processing is really simple, and I'm going to get into more detail in this in another video, because I made this post-processing station here. I've seen videos of people pouring, you use a couple different things when you're post-processing one of these resin prints. You use IPA, isopropyl alcohol, to remove the excess residual uncured resin, and then after you put that in there for a little bit and then move it around, agitate it, then it goes into a water bath or a water and slightly soapy solution bath to clean that alcohol off of there. Then it's dried simply by shaking it off, blowing it off with compressed air, letting dry with a paper towel, whatever way you want to do it, and then it goes into a UV curing station, or it can go outside in the sunlight and let the sun do the rest of it for you. So, really briefly, you have one of these guys, and I'm going to do a video on how I did this and put up the files for this. I'm actually going to make a little different strainer. I don't like this one for these particular tubs. I got these tubs on Amazon. They have locking tops on them. They're sealed. I can leave the alcohol in here and I don't smell the alcohol at all. None of that vent gas escapes on there. But when we're done with the print, all we're doing is we're taking a scraper of some kind or another, and they give you a nice little plastic one along with it. And all you're doing is taking your scraper and releasing your part from the build plate. Dropping it in a strainer or dropping it directly into your alcohol bath. You drop it down, you let it sit in there for a bit. Really doesn't take any more than a couple minutes. Don't leave it in there forever in a day, because at some point you will affect the resin. But get it in there. clean up your parts so you get all that resin off of there. And you want to get it all off of there, because if you don't, when you go to do your post-curing in either a UV station, which it's not technical at all, you just use a damn nail dryer, UV nail dryer that I bought on Amazon for like 15 bucks. So I get it cleaned out good in the alcohol. Switch your parts over to water bath to get that alcohol off of there. One thing that is very handy, and you will need a lot of, other than the nitrile gloves, which are recommended strongly, are paper towels, and good paper towels. You can buy cheap ones, you'll go through a lot of them. You buy good ones like these are shop towels. Go to an auto parts store. So water bath, get our parts cleaned off, seal our tank back up again, wipe these guys down a little bit, and then at this point they're ready to go into the UV curing station. You can put one of these on there, and it's just a UV curing light used for getting your nails did, and it allows you to finish off that curing process for the resin. A couple minutes in here, you're done. 10-15 minutes out in the sun, 10 minutes or so depending on the part, and that's it. So initial thoughts on the Photon. Photon I got on Amazon, it was $539. $539, while not the cheapest thing around entirely for a printer. When we put it in perspective, a CR10 goes for about 400 bucks now in most places. Does it have a smaller build volume? Yes. Can you get a bigger one with some of the SLA units that are out there, or some of the other projector screen types that are out, like a Wanhao D7? They have a little bit bigger build area, but the machines aren't standalone like this is. This runs off a USB stick. Some of the other ones out there have to be hooked up to your computer all the time and tethered. Don't like that. Other machines, SLA machines that are out there, have a bigger build volume, certainly. The Piopoli Malai has a much bigger build volume, a little over twice the size if I remember correctly. A Formlabs Form 1, Form 2 machines have a bigger build volume, but a Form machine, which is an SLA, a laser type, costs in some cases $3,000. You're between $2,500 and $3,500 for one of those, and much more if you buy the whole suite of post-curing materials to go along with the stations for that. They're great machines, they're fantastic, but if you have a budget and you are a hobbyist, a model like the Anycubic Photon is going to do very well for you and isn't going to cause you to mortgage one of your children or sell off that beloved extra car. So, does the machine do what I need it to do? Does it allow me to print finely detailed parts and pieces? It absolutely does. Initially, things look very positive with it. The biggest hiccups and hang-ups that you'll probably have are the same ones that I've had. It's just in getting the settings dialed in. It's figuring out how to get it leveled initially and reliably so that your prints stick to your build surface and not the bottom of the vat as you're printing. A fantastic resource is the Anycubic Photon users group over on Facebook. There is a lot of fantastic people over on that group that are extremely helpful. They have wonderful resources there, including a nice spreadsheet containing resins, of which there are quite a few out there already that people have used, and they share their settings on there for successful prints. Very helpful for me. I'm playing around with a couple of new things now to get a handle on it, but it's going to take you a little bit of time to go from getting this box arriving on your door to getting reliable prints of all different types out of this machine. Right off the bat, you can open up this box, you can set this thing up, it'll take you 20 minutes to get going. You can hit play on that included file that's on there, the Anycubic torture lattice cube with their logo in there, and you'll get a print out of it in a couple hours, 3.5, 4 hours I think it takes to run. I haven't run it myself because I like to print other things that I want to print rather than that. But you will get that out of the box, and if you've leveled it successfully, you'll get a successful print that looks fantastic. So, I'm impressed so far. Which I've got everything reset over in this area here, in the printer area of the shop, and that's a good sign. I wouldn't take the couple of hours it took me to move everything back around and get this out of this cabinet and all of that if I wasn't impressed, if I didn't believe that I was going to be using this for a long time. So where can you get it? You can get it on Amazon. I'll have links down in the description. I'll have links to some of the tools that I use along with it, some of the resins. I'll have links to that Anycubic Photon users group over on Facebook. Go there, definitely, if you have one of these or you're thinking about getting one of these. It's a fantastic resource. You'll find me on there. So if you want to print all the tiny things, all the little things, all the detailed things, you love to make, you play tabletop games, you make things like I do and really love detailed parts, you just want to make cool little stuff to put up on your shelf, you design your own 3D models, your own 3D figures, you do 3D sculpture work, this thing is awesome for that. You will be able to print your work, to put it out, to give it out to people, to display it, to whatever. $539 on Amazon. I got links down below. I think those links do help support the channel, allow me to do things like purchase new fun things like this that support content on the channel and also support what I do to on the other side of things here too, where I make replica costumes and parts, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very appreciative of all of you that have ordered stuff through there and sent me messages and questions and participated in discussions down below. It's awesome. So get on over, get yourself one. Let's go through the learning experience together. If you have any suggestions that are helpful, please throw them down in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking out the video, and be sure to subscribe below. And I hope that you take the chance to make something on an Anycubic Photon or another similar type printer. And if you have made something cool with your Photon or with something else, I'm over on Twitter. You can find me at John Weger. Send me a picture of what you made. I'd love to see it. Alright, that's it. It's getting late. Gotta go sit on my butt and watch some TV. I've got some Westworld to catch up on and lots of other stuff. Oh yeah, I got some other work to do here too. So that's it. Anycubic Photon, it's out there. I'm enjoying it so far. Let me know what you think about it.